Afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I am just waiting on Lewis to join, so just please bear with us, and then we'll get this up and running. Lewis,
Hey guys, how's it going?
how are you doing, buddy?
How you doing, Andy?
Yeah, I'm good, thank you. So I'm just in the gym at the moment, so I just want to make sure that we just go through a quick introduction before the sound kicks in, and then it's all over to you as you want to. Okay, Lewis. What I'm going to do, can you change your name because you've logged in as through the CrossFit portal? We'll just have to change it so everyone knows who's talking and they're not necessarily think Miss Gareth,
Oh,
even though
sorry,
you
yeah, I
do
just
sound
clocked that.
different. No worries.
I've not quite got the accent down for Gareth.
That's right. It's just a bit stronger north, isn't it? And for all of those tuning in, okay, Lewis is from the northwest, right? I'm right in saying that.
Yep, Northwest, yeah, Lancaster.
Yeah, awesome, right? So again, you might just have to get used to that. I'm from some place down south near Wales, so hence my accent. That's for all our European contingent here, okay? Let me just double check, and then we're ready to go. All right. So the call's been recorded, and therefore we will put this onto our webinar YouTube page. Okay. So today you're going to be talking about basically a little bit about your story and from how you've transitioned from being an affiliate owner responsible for two locations and to managing a revenue which has allowed you to do that and then obviously using the systems in which you've gone through as well. Does that work for you?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it'll all make sense as we go along. But yeah, dive into my story, my background, and how I've been able to move away from my gyms and run them remotely, essentially.
Brilliant. Now, at any point, if you want to open the floor to questions, right, please feel free to do that. And if anyone does have any questions as well, please pop them in the chat, and then we can fire them off to Lewis as well. So I'll keep a monitor of that. You good?
Let's do it.
Awesome. All right, over to you then, Lewis.
Cool. Let me share my screen. Um, just let me know if you can see my screen.
Yeah, we're good, buddy.
Got it? Awesome. Let's do this. Okay, well, hello everyone. I'm Lewis. Welcome. Excited to be here. Um, Let me change my clicker. Here we go. Cool. So, get this up. Absolutely buzzing to have you all here today. Seriously, if you're a box owner who's tired of being stuck in your business, working 60, 70, 80-hour weeks, feeling like you can't step away for a day, and you're wondering if there's actually a way out without closing down or burning out completely, you're in the right place. Over the next 60 minutes, hopefully under 90 minutes, I'm going to show you the exact system that has helped over 50 box owners go from being trapped in operations to building a genuinely profitable hands-free gym. And I don't mean it in some theoretical, maybe one day kind of way. I mean, gym owners who've added 30K, 50K, and even £72,000 in revenue in just 4 to 6 months whilst working less than they were before. And I know it can sound impossible to some, but stick with me because by the end of this, you're going to see exactly why everything you've tried before hasn't maybe worked. And more importantly, what does actually work. So let me give you a quick taste of what's possible. Frenchie, a CrossFit affiliate owner in the northwest of the UK from Bury, CrossFit Bury. 6 months ago, after 10 years of running his gym, he was about to shut down and he was making barely Aldi wages, as he called it. And he had maybe 6 months left before closing, to quote him. Today, he has just opened a facility 5 times the size of his old one, and he's added £50,000 in revenue. Kate and Bill, a remote CrossFit box in Cumbria, CrossFit Stormbreaker. Never used a CRM system before, a customer relationship manager. They were doing everything manually. They were using whiteboards for all of their tracking. In 6 months, they added £30,000 in revenue and went from 80 to 120 members and increased their membership base by 50%. And they did this by actually stopping free trials, which I'll be talking about today. Mark, CrossFit Death of Glory from Newcastle, in 4 months went from 110 members. Sorry, in 6 months went from 110 members to 190 members. He added 80 members. He added £72,000 in revenue. And his first ad campaign, which was wild, spent £251 and signed up 21 people. He made over £2,000 back immediately. The dream that you have of running a gym that's actually profitable, that gives you freedom, and that doesn't require you to be there every single hour, it's not a fantasy. It's real. It's happening, and it can happen for you too. So here's what I'm going to cover today. First, I'm going to show you one thing that most box owners get completely wrong about growing the gym, and why you being the one running everything is actually killing your business and not helping it. Second, I'm going to walk you through the exact system, the hands-free gym method, that's added over £200,000 in recurring revenue across our 50 plus CrossFit affiliates that we're currently working with at Gym Grow. I'll break down the 4 pillars that make this work and why it's completely different from the cookie cutter marketing agency bullshit you've probably tried before. And third, I'll show you the biggest mistakes box owners make when trying to scale. Mistakes that keep them trapped at below 100 members, working 60 plus hours a week, and making barely enough to pay themselves. And fourth, we'll dive deep into real case studies. I'll show you exactly how these gym owners transformed their business, their specific numbers, and what they did differently. And finally, for those who want help implementing this in your gym, I'll also outline exactly how you can do that. And also throughout, if you've got any questions, please drop them in the chat. I can't currently see the chat, so maybe Andy or Gareth could just prompt me, and I'm happy to discuss. I've also left a time at the end for a Q&A, so any questions, please shout then. Okay, so who is this for? And this webinar, before I dive in, I just want to be crystal clear about who it's for, because I know you're investing your time, and also who it's not for. So this is for people who own a CrossFit box. Hopefully that's everyone here. And you're currently stuck working in the business rather than on it. And you're making some money, but probably not enough for the hours you're putting in. Maybe you're making 5, 10, 15, 20K a month, but after expenses and paying everyone else, there's barely anything left for you. You've tried marketing agencies before, maybe even business coaches, and they gave you generic solutions, and it probably didn't work for your gym's culture. You're tired of word of mouth being your only growth strategy and watching competitors open up down the road while you're stuck in the same member count. You want a proven system that actually gets results, not theory, not vague advice, but actions that generate revenue. This is not going to be for you if you don't actually own a gym and you don't want to scale. You're looking for a magic button and an easy solution. This requires implementation and following a proven system. You're not willing to invest your time and energy and growth to transform your business, and you're perfectly happy staying where you're at, working lots of hours, and don't actually want to change anything. So if this second list describes you, no hard feelings. This webinar might not be that beneficial for you. But if you're in that first group, if you're stuck, frustrated, and ready for something that actually works, you're going to love what I'm about to show you. So now you might be wondering, well, who the hell am I and why should you listen to me? Fair question. Let me tell you a bit about my story, because I promise you, I've been exactly where you are now. My name's Lewis. I own 2 gyms, 2 CrossFit affiliates in the UK. And here's the thing, I don't actually work in those gyms, and I haven't stepped foot in either of those boxes in over a year. I've been living in Dubai and Bali for the past year. Back in London currently. They're running without me. They're profitable. They're growing. The members love them. The staff are happy, and I'm not there. And I have the ability to essentially be a member at my own gym, which was always my dream, and a lot of the gym owners I speak to is their dream. Now, here's why this matters and why creating this kind of business isn't just about being lazy or wanting to sit on a beach somewhere. When you build a gym that's actually profitable, I mean, genuinely profitable, not just barely covering expenses, something incredible happens. First, you can reinvest into your customer experience. Better equipment, better coaches, better facilities, the member gets a better product, which means they stay longer and refer more people. Second, you get your time back. Time to spend with your family, time to be present with your kids, time to actually go on holiday without your phone blowing up every 5 minutes, and time to give back to people around you who've been supporting you while you've been grinding. And thirdly, and this is a big one, you can work on your business instead of in it. You can actually improve things. You can think strategically. You can grow and you can open new locations. You can build something real. Because right now, if you're a gym owner, and most gym owners I talk to, you're not building a business. You're trapped in a job you've created for yourself. A job that probably pays you less than you're making working at Aldi, to quote one of the gym owners that I'm working with, for twice the hours. And look, I get it. You love CrossFit, you love helping people, you love helping transform their lives. But and that's why we started this in the first place. But you can't help anyone if you're burnt out, broke, and about to close the doors. So building a profitable, systemized gym isn't selfish. It's not selling out. It's the responsible thing to do. Because when you're making real money, when you've got systems that work, when you're not stressed about payroll every month, that's when you can truly serve your members at the highest level. And that's when you can create the gym you always dreamed of creating. Now, I know you might be thinking, this sounds great, Lewis. I've tried things before and they haven't worked. I get it because I've been exactly where you are. In fact, 5 years ago, I was in an even worse position than most of you. Let me tell you what happened because understanding my story will help you understand why what I'm about to tell you actually works. So, 5 years ago, I was in maybe a situation that a lot of you are living right now. I was working 60 plus hours a week, every single week, no days off, no holidays, no breaks. I had a sleeping bag in the cleaning cupboard under the stairs of my box because there were nights I was just too exhausted to drive home. I'd finish the last class at 9 p.m., clean up, do the admin work, and until midnight, and then crash on the floor. I'd wake up at 5:30 a.m. to open for the early morning crew. And here's the thing, I loved the gym. I loved the members. I loved coaching. I loved seeing people transform their lives, but I was miserable. I was stressed all the time. I couldn't spend time with my girlfriend. My friends stopped inviting me to things because they knew I wouldn't be able to go. My phone was glued to my hand 24/7 because I didn't respond immediately to every message. I'd be terrified that something might fall apart. And I had constant anxiety. I had eczema all over my body, all related to stress. And the worst part, I wasn't making any money. I was barely covering rent and expenses. And after paying coaches and after paying bills, there was almost nothing left for me. I remember one month, and this still is very vivid in my mind. We just didn't sign up any new members and we were losing members. And that month, I went out for dinner with my girlfriend, and we were trying to have a normal evening. We were in Nando's, and the bill came, and I couldn't pay for it. I had to ask her to cover it. And I remember sitting there thinking, I'm a failure. And here I was working harder than anyone I knew, putting in 60, 70-hour weeks, and I couldn't afford to pay for dinner. And something really had to change. And I knew I needed to grow. I knew I needed more members. I needed more revenue. I needed to build systems that I could step back, but I kept hitting the same three walls over and over again. So the first wall that I kept hitting was wasting money on ads. I thought, okay, I need to market better. I need to run ads. So I spent money, a lot of money, and got absolutely nothing in return. I'd spend 500, 1,000, 2,000 pounds on Facebook ads and get maybe one or two signups, sometimes zero. If it felt like I was throwing money down the drain, a lot of times I was. And I didn't have a clear path forward. And I had no idea what I was doing wrong. I just had this sinking feeling of why isn't this working and what am I missing? I felt hopeless and maybe I wasn't smart enough to figure this out. The second wall I kept hitting was no systems. I thought I had systems, I really did. But when I stepped back, even for a week, everything fell apart. Staff weren't doing what they were supposed to, members weren't being followed up with. The gym stopped working when I wasn't there. And even before I tried to step away, I was doing everything myself. The sales calls, the onboarding, the coaching, the cleaning, the marketing, the admin, everything. I couldn't delegate because I didn't have systems in place for people to follow. I was the system and I was exhausted. And hiring people. I thought the answer was to hire people to help me, and I did this, and they were the wrong people. My girlfriend's job actually moved her to Switzerland for 6 months, and she asked me to come with her. And when I did, I was at the point I finally thought, okay, I'd figured this out. And finally, I had someone I could trust to run my box for me. And I literally just watched the place crumble from across Europe. Members were leaving, classes weren't being run properly. Like the culture I'd spent years building was falling apart. And I felt helpless, stressed, angry at myself for leaving, angry at them for not caring the way I cared. And the worst part was I realized that if I wanted to keep the gym alive, I'd have to stay local forever. I couldn't leave. I was trapped. And the dream of living abroad, of having freedom and running my businesses remotely, it felt impossible. And this went on for over a year. 12 months of trying things that didn't work, 12 months of wasting money, 12 months of stress, sleepless nights, and feeling like I was failing. I probably wasted, looking back at it, over £20,000 on ads that didn't work during this time. There were so many moments where I almost quit. One of the lowest points was I spent £2,000 on an ad campaign and didn't get a single sign up, like not one. I remember sitting in my office at my computer screen, just thinking, like, what am I doing? Should I just close down, get a normal job, stop torturing myself? But I couldn't. I put too much into this. Like a lot of you guys, I cared too much about the members. I couldn't just walk away, and I couldn't just keep going like this. But something had to change, and this is when it happened. I tried marketing agencies before multiple times and they never worked. They'd give me these like cookie cutter campaigns that didn't fit my gym's culture at all and didn't fit a CrossFit box. 6 week transformation challenges, generic ads. I was holding signs outside of local landmarks. Maybe some of you can resonate with this. Stuff that worked for Globo gyms, but not CrossFit boxes. And I tried to do something different. Instead of hiring another agency to do it for me, I hired someone to teach me, to show me the actual tech behind running ads, like the mechanics of it. And then this was the key. I paired the knowledge with what I already knew about my gym, my community, my culture, my members, the CrossFit way. And I realized the problem wasn't the ads, the problem was the offer. Everyone was targeting people who were already into fitness, people who were already gym goers. But what if I targeted beginners, people who weren't already into gyms? The total addressable market was so much bigger. And what if instead of just running ads and hoping for the best, I paired it with fast follow up, automation, AI to respond instantly to leads? And suddenly it clicked. I wasn't just running ads, I was building a system, and a system to attract the right people, convert them quickly, and keep them long term. So I built the plan. I created an offer specifically for beginners, people who'd never done CrossFit before, but were curious. I set up ads targeting that audience. I built automation so that the second someone clicked, they got an instant response. So no waiting around, not I'll get back to you tomorrow. Because there's a really famous study, which I love to quote, which is an MIT business study, which basically analyzed the interactions of thousands of leads and the likelihood of getting a response from a lead at 5 minutes compared to 30 minutes, you're 100 times more likely. So that response to lead is huge. I also created a proper onboarding program. So not just come try a free trial class, but something that actually got people bought into the culture and values of my gym from day one. And I tested it. Now, here's the thing. This didn't happen overnight. It took me months of trial and error, months of tweaking the ads, months of refining the offer, months of testing different automation sequences. I spent, like I say, probably over £20,000 figuring this out. And I wasted a year to 18 months of my life on this. And there were so many moments where I doubted myself, where I thought, maybe this won't work. Maybe I'm just not cut out for this. But I kept going and I didn't feel like I had a choice, really. Let me. So I just want to show you my WOD board screenshot from where my gym was to where I got to. So if you can see my screen, hopefully you all can. It's just gone off my screen. 2 seconds. So within 2 months, we more than doubled our gym's revenue. So we went from literally, as you can see, around £6,000 a month to nearly 14K a month. And suddenly I could breathe, I could pay myself, I could hire the right people this time, and people who actually cared. I could reinvest in better equipment, better coaches, a better member experience. And most importantly, I could start building real systems, systems that worked without me. And within 6 months, I was able to step back from the day-to-day operations. And within a year, I was able to open a second location. And then eventually I moved abroad, first to Bali, then to Dubai, and now here, there, and everywhere. But my gyms run without me now. They're profitable, they're growing, and the members are happy, and I get to have my life back. And this experience completely transformed how I see CrossFit box ownership. I realized that a lot of box owners are making the same mistakes I made. They're working with marketing agencies who've never run a CrossFit affiliate. They're getting generic advice from business coaches who don't understand the CrossFit business model, and they're trying to do everything themselves because they don't have the right systems. And they're suffering for it. I also realized something else, that the worst person to grow your gym is you, the gym owner. And not because you're not capable, but because you're too close to it. You're too busy doing everything to actually step back and work on the business. You need systems. You need someone who understands gyms. You need a proven framework. And once I had that framework, once I proved it worked for my gyms, I knew how to help other gym owners do the same thing. And because you shouldn't have to waste £20,000 on a year of your life like I did, you shouldn't have to sleep at your gym or miss dinner with your family. There was a better way. And that's what I want to show you today. The system I discovered and the idea that I have for this. It's not just about getting more members. It's about building a sustainable business that runs without you there. And most marketing agencies just want to get you leads. Most coaches just want to teach you theory. But what you actually need is someone who understands the whole business and the CrossFit business model, someone who's run gyms themselves, someone who can look at marketing, retention systems, culture, team building as one integrated system. And that's what we're going to dive into next. So, number one is the free trial trap. So, why charging upfront into an intro program attracts better members who stay longer? So, the first thing I discovered that completely changed how my boxes operate. And I'm warning you right now, for some of you, this may sound completely backwards and it's going to go against maybe something you've been told before and how to grow a gym, but stick with me because this one shift is responsible for more revenue growth across more than 50 gym clients that I've personally worked with than anything else. And it's to stop giving away free trials. I know you're thinking, are you crazy? Everyone does free trials. How am I supposed to get people through the door? But let me ask you something and be honest. How many people have you given free trials to in the last year? And then what percentage of those people signed up long term? Because here's what's really happening with free trials. And this is something most gym owners never realize is when you give something for free, you're training them to expect everything for free. You're attracting people who are shopping around, looking for the best deal, not people who are serious about transforming their lives. And worse, you're devaluing your offer and your business. Because think about it, if you're willing to give away your coaching, your programming, your community for free, what does that say about how much it's worth? And can you see how that could be a problem? Oh, my screen has gone off again. Apologies, guys. I'm not sure why it's doing that. Have you guys still got me?
Yeah, I always attract low commitment, low value members.
Okay, cool. Just trying to get this back up. Okay, cool. So I want to give you an analogy that might help sense with the free trial stuff. Imagine you're in the market for a Lamborghini and you walked into a dealership and they say, "Hey, take this £250,000 car for a free test drive. Keep it for a week, see if you like it, and there's no commitment." Like, what would your instant thoughts be? Like, you'd probably think something's wrong with it, right? You'd think, why are they so desperate to get me to try this? What are they hiding? And now imagine instead they say, this is a £250,000 vehicle, a £250,000 car. It's exclusive. Not everyone can afford it or appreciate it. But if you're serious, we can arrange a proper consultation and a test drive. It's a completely different feeling, right? When something costs money, even just a little bit of money, it signals value. It signals that we're offering something of value. And more importantly, it filters out the people who aren't serious. The people who will pay upfront for an intro program, they are invested. They show up, they do the work, they stick around. And the people who want everything for free they're more likely to ghost you. And can you see, hopefully this makes sense and you can see the difference in the type of person that attracts. Now, let me tell you about how I figured this out because for years I did exactly what everyone else does. I offered free trials, I did free taster sessions. I said, come try our first class on us. And I'd get people through the door sometimes, but then they'd try a class, say thanks, say they'd think about it, and I wouldn't actually see them again. Or they'd come for a week and get a feel for things and then disappear. And I kept thinking, what am I doing wrong? Why aren't these people signing up? I thought it was my coaching. I thought it was my gym. I thought it was me. But the problem was threefold. First, free trials attract low interested buyers, people who had no real intention of joining. They were just curious, or they were gym hopping, trying to find the cheapest option. These people would waste my time and my coach's time, and we'd not get much out of it. Second, the people who did sign up after a free trial, they had a completely different mentality than the people who paid up front. They'd cancel after a month or two. Like, the integration process was so much worse. They'd make excuses. They wouldn't show up consistently. It was like they never really committed in the first place because they never had to invest anything to start. And third, this is a big one. I realized I was training people to undervalue what I was offering. If I was willing to give it away for free, why would they think it's worth paying for? Has anyone ever experienced this? And where you bend over backwards to accommodate someone, giving them everything for free, and they still don't commit. I mean, for me, it was just incredibly frustrating. So I had a conversation with another gym owner, someone who was doing really well. Members weren't churning, revenue was consistent, and I remember asking him, like, what are you doing? What's your secret? How are you getting such good retention? And he said something that completely changed my perspective. He said he doesn't do free trials and he charged £99 for a month-long intro program. It was 2 classes a week. If they like it, they continue into a long-term membership. If they don't like it, well, they got a full month of training for £99, which is a steal anyway. And so for me, that was a massive revelation to say, okay, you're charging people up front and they don't push back. And I remember he laughed and he said, like, the ones who push back aren't my ideal members anyway. The ones who pay, they show up, they do the work, and they stick around. And it clicked. I'd been attracting the wrong people by offering free trials. I needed to attract people who are serious, people who valued what I was offering, and people who will plan to really invest in themselves. So I tested it. I stopped offering free trials completely. Instead, I created a paid intro program, which was £99 for 4 weeks. You got 2 beginner sessions per week where you teach the fundamentals, you get access to accountability, you give them a proper onboarding into the community, you show them what CrossFit's about. And I made it clear, this isn't just to try us out and see if you like it. It was like, we're investing in you. We're giving you a structured program to set you up for success. And we're only taking on people who are serious about this. I was nervous. I thought no one's going to pay for this. This is going to kill my signups. And at first, it did feel scary. The number of inquiries definitely went down. Not everyone wanted to pay up front. But here's what I noticed. The people who did pay, they were completely different. They showed up every session. They asked questions. They engaged with the community. They actually cared. And when the 4 weeks were up, almost all of them signed up for a full membership. Whereas you compare that to free trials, and I looked at the data on this, we'd get maybe 20 to 30% that would convert. So with a paid program, we were converting at 70 to 80%. But I still had doubts. I thought, what if this only works in my area? What if I'm just getting lucky? Then I started implementing this in the gyms I was helping. So Kate and Bill from CrossFit Stormbreaker, who I showed you earlier, they were in a remote area. They thought nobody would pay. They stopped doing free trials, started charging up front for their membership, and they literally added £30,000 in revenue and increased their membership base by 50% in 6 months. And here's the big one, their retention went up because the people who they were attracting were serious from day one. A more recent example is Fraser and Sienna from New Wave CrossFit. They had tried lots of other marketing agencies before, and I bring them up now because they were incredibly skeptical. And the first 6 weeks with us, they've signed up 24 new members into their intro program, and they've generated more than £4,000 in upfront revenue, whilst only spending £500 on ads. And the recurring revenue from those members is around £3,000 a month for the next 12 months because they've signed these people up long term. And for a box owner, as you guys know, that's a really substantial amount of money, which has a big impact. And this was all because they stopped giving away stuff for free, which was their previous method. Mark from Death or Glory, his first campaign, like I said earlier, £251 spent on ads and 21 people signed up at £99 each. That's over £2,000 in immediate revenue. So this isn't like a maybe they'll sign up later. This is immediate revenue day one. And you can probably see how this changes everything because here's what I learned from all this. The price you charge or don't charge, it sends a message. Free says, I'm desperate for your business. I don't believe in the value of what I'm offering. Whereas a £99 intro would say, here's what we do. Here's why it's valuable. We're selective about who we work with. And if you're serious, this is for you. And the people who respond to that message, they're your ideal members. They stick around longer, they engage more, they refer more people, they become part of the culture you're building. The people who only respond to free, they were never going to be long-term members anyway. So don't worry about them and don't waste your time and energy on them. So let me ask you a few questions. Have you ever had someone come in for a free trial and then ghost you? Have you ever had someone sign up for a free trial and then cancel after a month or two? Have you ever felt like you're giving away your expertise for free and not getting anything in return? Yeah, me too. And I think every box owner has. But here's the question that matters. What if the solution isn't to give away more for free, but actually to charge up front and attract people who actually value what you're offering? What if the gym owners who are growing, who have stable revenue, who have great retention, members who actually show up, aren't doing free trials at all? What if you've been doing it backwards the whole time? Does that change how you would think about your offer? Let me change the slide. Oh. Okay, so now I know what some of you may be thinking. Okay, Lewis, that makes sense. Charging upfront attracts better members. I get it. But how do I actually get those people to say yes? How do I get them through the door in the first place? Because here's the thing, you can have the best offer in the world, but if no one is seeing it, it doesn't matter. And this is where most gym owners make the second biggest mistake. They're targeting the wrong people. So let me explain what I mean. Okay, so we talked about the right offer. You're charging up front, attracting serious people who actually stick around. But here's something I need to address head on because I see this with a lot of gym owners that I talk to, and it is a bit uncomfortable. So I'm just going to say it. You might be closer to shutting down than you think. Now, before you dismiss that and think, that's not me, I'm doing fine, hear me out, because this is exactly what Frenchie, CrossFit Bury, thought. And Frenchie had ran his affiliate for 10 years, a decade. And for most of that time, he thought things were okay. Not great, but okay. He was making just enough to keep the doors open, just enough to have, just enough not to have a regular job, and just enough to convince himself that next month will be better. But when I talked to him 6 months before we started working together, he basically said, Lewis, I'm about 6 to 8 months away from closing. I'm not sure if I can keep doing this. And 10 years he'd been going, and it was 6 months from the end. Maybe that sounds familiar to some of you here, but here's what's really scary about this. The decline isn't obvious. It's not like you wake up one day and suddenly everything's fallen apart. It's slow, it's gradual, it's almost invisible. And by the time you realize how bad things really are, you're sometimes out of runway. So let me give you an analogy. It's kind of like a ship taking on water. At first, it's just a little bit, nothing alarming, like, it's fine, I can bail out a bucket here and there, no big deal. But the water keeps coming slowly, steadily, and you're so busy bailing water, coaching classes, doing admin, managing staff, trying to keep everything running that you don't realize the ship is actually sinking. By the time you lock up and see that the water's at your knees, it's almost too late. And that's what's happening with so many gym owners that I work with. You're taking on water, you just don't realize it yet. And revenue is flat or maybe slowly declining. Members are leaving at the same rate new ones are coming in or faster, and expenses keep creeping up. You're working harder than ever, but making the same or less money. And you keep telling yourself, well, I just need to push through. Next quarter will be better, but it won't, not without something changing. And I think it's very dangerous. So let me tell you about Frenchie and his full story, because I think this is really one of the most powerful examples of this invisible decline. Frenchie owned CrossFit Bury in the Northwest UK. He'd been running it for 10 years when we met, and 10 years of grinding, 10 years of showing up every day, 10 years of caring about his members and trying to build something. But after 10 years, what he called it, he was making Aldi wages. He said to me, like, I've been working my ass off. I'm making a lot less than I would if I got a job at a supermarket. And he had about 60 members, hardcore members, yes, who loved the gym, but it wasn't enough to pay the bills. Rent was going up, equipment was breaking and needed replacing. He couldn't afford to hire more coaches or pay himself properly. And the worst part was he didn't really realize how bad it was at first. He kept thinking it's just a rough patch, things will turn around. But they weren't, like, the things weren't turning around. The problem was threefold. First, he was losing members at almost the same rate he was gaining new ones. He was on a treadmill, working constantly just to stay in the same place. And secondly, his costs were increasing. Rent is going up, insurance is going up, everything's going up, but his revenue is staying flat. Third, and this is the harsh part, like, he was so deep in the day-to-day operations that he couldn't see the bigger picture. He was coaching classes, managing the schedule, responding to messages, cleaning the gym, ordering equipment. He was just so in the weeds of everything. He was working more than 60 hours a week just to keep things running. And somewhere in all of that, he's lost perspective. He didn't realize that just keeping things running wasn't actually sustainable. He was slowly burning out, slowly going broke, slowly heading towards the point where he'd have to make a decision, close down or go back to his old engineering job. And for me, I was in a very similar situation 5 years ago. Some of you may resonate and you may feel like this, like you're working incredibly hard just to stay afloat. And Frenchie told me that he had this moment of clarity about 6 months before we started working together. He was looking at the numbers and really looking at them. And the first time in months, he'd realized, like, the ship is sinking. And he said to me, it wasn't like I was dying quickly. It was like I was taking on water slowly that I hadn't realized I was sinking until I looked down and saw, okay, this is getting serious now. I might have to show up shop. And that's when he started looking for help. He'd worked with business coaches before. He said that they're really nice people, gave them some good frameworks and concepts. But Frenchie asked, okay, how do I actually get more members this month? And the business coach didn't have an answer. It was all theory. It was work on your vision and think about your ideal client avatar. Meanwhile, Frenchie was 6 months from closing. He'd also tried marketing agencies. They'd run some ads, got a few leads, nothing that actually moved the needle because they don't understand CrossFit boxes. They don't understand his culture. They were running cookie cutter campaigns and time was running out. So that's when I started working with Frenchie. And I'll be honest, he was very skeptical. He said, I've tried other people before and why would we be different? And fair question. We'd had multiple calls before. We actually signed up and we need to get across that I wasn't just another person taking money from him and delivering nothing. And I told him I've been exactly where he was. And I knew that he was 6 months from closing and I knew what it was like to work 60-hour weeks for barely any money. And I figured out a system that works, not theory, not generic advice, a system that actually generates revenue fast. And this was through using paid ads with the right offer. We're able to get members. We're able to get members who pay upfront and stick around by offering a paid intro, and we're able to do it in the next few months, not years. Now, it's not all. It wasn't all smooth sailing. The first ad campaign we launched, Frenchie was extremely nervous. He'd spent money on ads before, and gotten nothing. But this time was different. We weren't targeting existing CrossFit athletes or hardcore gym goers. We were targeting beginners because people are curious about fitness, but very intimidated by gyms. We weren't offering free trials. We were charging a £99 upfront intro program. And we had a fast follow-up system in place. So we were using AI automation to get instant responses. And within the first few weeks, people started signing up. And Frenchie started to believe that maybe, just maybe, this could actually work. And 6 months later, Frenchie has added £50,000 in revenue. £50,000, which is a very substantial amount of money. And he's gone from, I'm 6 months from closing, to opening a facility that's 5 times the size of his old one. He's gone from 60 members to barely covering costs to now over 100 members with a wait list. From working every hour just to survive to having the time and money to invest in growth. I've actually just done a video interview with him asking where he'd be if he hadn't have taken action. And he says he would have closed the gym. And so my point is, after 10 years of grinding, 10 years of pouring his heart into his business, it wasn't from not working hard enough. It was working with the wrong systems. And he didn't realize that until he really, truly looked at the numbers. So here's what this taught me, and what I want you to understand is that most gym owners can be in denial about how close they are to the edge of maybe closing down. You tell yourself, I'm doing okay. It's great. It's not great, but it's fine. I need to work a little harder, but fine isn't sustainable. And fine means you're a few bad months away from crisis. Like one rent increase can put you underwater. A big wave of member cancellations could put you in serious trouble. And the longer you wait to fix it, the harder it gets. And Frenchie waited 10 years and he almost ran out of time. Kate and Bill from CrossFit Stormbreaker, they were in a similar boat. Not quite at crisis point yet, but heading there. Flat revenue, working constantly and not really seeing growth. They acted fast, and 6 months later, they've added £30,000 in revenue and increased the number of members by 50%. Mark from CrossFit Death or Glory, he just expanded his gym, bigger space, higher costs, and he needed revenue fast. And 6 months later, he'd added 80 members and £72,000 in revenue. And the difference between the gym owners who succeed and the ones who close down isn't talent or effort. It's timing, and it's recognizing the problem before it's too late and taking action. So let me ask you some questions, and I want you to be really honest with yourself. Is your revenue growing every month, or is it flat? Or maybe even slightly declining? Are you signing up more new members than you're losing, or is it basically breaking even? Are your expenses increasing while your revenue stays the same? Are you working harder than you were a year ago, but making the same money or less? Are you telling yourself next month will be better, but deep down, you're not sure if that's actually true? If you've answered any of these questions, you're in the invisible decline. You might not be 6 months from closing, like Frenchie was, but you're on the same path he was on. And here's the hard truth. The longer you wait to fix this, the harder it gets. If you wait another 6 months, you'll have 6 more months of flat revenue, increasing expenses, and more stress. If you want to wait a year, maybe you don't have a box anymore. And I know that sounds harsh, and maybe it is, but I'd rather be honest with you now, and rather than watch you close your doors a year down the line and wish someone had brought it up. So I know what you may be thinking. Okay, maybe I need to act now. I can't keep waiting. But what if I've tried things before and they didn't work? What if I'm stuck in the market? And this is one of the biggest things I hear from box owners is it won't work for me. My area is different. My numbers are different. My members are different. I've tried marketing before and it didn't work. And I need to show you why that's not true. So let me explain. Here's the third thing that you need to understand. And this one might make some people feel uncomfortable, but I'm going to say it anyway. I think you've been lied to. I think you have been told that building a successful, profitable gym takes years and maybe even a decade. And you've been told, be patient, keep grinding, stay consistent, eventually it will pay off. You've been told that quick results are either possible or a scam. And I think it's complete bullshit. I think building a real business does take time. I understand that. Rome wasn't built in a day. You're right. But you know what else? Rome also wasn't built by people who were broke and burnt out after 10 years of grinding. Let me ask you something. If it takes 10 years to build a profitable gym, why was Frenchie able to go from nearly closing down to open a facility 5 times the size in just 6 months? If it takes years to see real results, why have we had gym owners like Kate and Bill who've added £30,000 in revenue and increased the membership base by 50% in 6 months? If quick results are impossible, why was Mark able to add 80 new members and £72,000 in just 6 months? Were they just lucky? No, they weren't lucky. They just followed a path and a system and followed someone's own system to get them there. Like, let me give you an analogy. It's kind of like if you wanted to get from London to Edinburgh, you could walk. It would take you weeks, maybe months. You'd be exhausted. You'd probably give up halfway, or you could take a train and you get there in 4.5 hours. Same destination, completely different timeline. Now, someone who's never taken the train might tell you walking is the only real way to do it. Taking the train is cheating, it's not authentic. But the person is either lying to you or they genuinely don't know the train exists. And building a gym, in my opinion, is the same way. There's a slow path, the one where most gym owners take, grinding for years, barely making progress, working 60-hour weeks, hoping things eventually get better. And there's a fast path, which is using a proven system, which is paid ads with the right offer and having a proper onboarding with automation. It's the same destination, but completely different timelines. And the people who tell you it takes years, they either don't know the path, the fast path exists, or they have something to gain from you staying stuck. So let me tell you something. Let me tell you how I figured this out. When I was stuck, when I was working 60-hour weeks, sleeping at my gym, barely making any money, everyone told me the same thing. Just keep at it, stay consistent. It takes time to build a business. And I believed them. I thought, okay, I just need to be patient. I need to grind harder. Eventually it'll pay off. And so I did for more than a year. And you know what happened? Nothing. I was still broke, still exhausted, still stuck. And it was when I had this realization that people giving me this advice, none of them had actually built what I was trying to build. The marketing agencies hadn't run a gym before and not a CrossFit box. The business coaches had never grown a gym to the point where it ran without them. They were giving me theory, generic advice, and be patient, stay the course, but they didn't have a system that actually worked. And the problem with slow growth mentality is that first, it assumes that all effort is equal. That if you just work hard enough for long enough, you'll eventually succeed. But that's not how it works. Working hard on the wrong things doesn't get you results. It just burns you out. I was working 60-hour weeks, hard work, but I was doing everything myself. I was offering free trials. I was targeting the wrong people, and I didn't really have any systems in place. No amount of patience was about to fix that. Secondly, the growth lie keeps you stuck in survival mode. When you believe it takes years to see results, you accept being broke and burnt out as just part of the journey. Now, you tell yourself this is normal, everyone goes through this, but I'm not sure it is normal, and you don't have to go through it. And the third thing is that the slow growth lie eats up the most valuable resource that you have, which is time. Every month you wait, every year you grind without real results. It's time you're not getting back. Time you could be spending with your family, time you could be living the life you actually want, time you could be building the business to create real freedom. And maybe a lot of you felt like you're working incredibly hard, but it's just slipping away, because that's how I did anyway. So my epiphany came when I finally implemented the right system. I stopped doing what everyone else was doing, and I stopped listening to people who'd never actually done it. And I built a system which had the right offer. I targeted beginners. I used paid ads. I had a fast follow up with automation and I used a proper onboarding. And within 2 months, I showed you the screenshot, my gym's revenue more than doubled. And that's 2 months, not 2 years, not 5 years, like 2 months. We went from 6K to 14K. And suddenly I could pay myself. I could hire the right people. I could reinvest in the gym. I could breathe. And I thought, well, why did everyone tell me this would take years? And the answer is simple. It's because most people don't have a system that works. So they assume that the slow growth is the only option. Once I proved this worked for my gyms, I started helping other gym owners, and I made a promise to myself: if I'm not going to tell people, I'm not going to tell people it takes years. I'm going to show them the fast path. And we've implemented the exact system with every gym owner we've worked with: paid ads, right offer, targeting beginners, not existing CrossFit goers or experienced athletes, and charging up front, not giving away things for free, having a fast follow up, using AI and automation, and having a proper onboarding that really builds community. And we measured everything. And I wanted to see how fast we can actually get the results. Now, here's the thing: not everyone believed it would work. Fraser and Sienna from New Wave CrossFit, they tried other marketing agencies, they'd been incredibly skeptical. They literally told me, we've been promised this before. Why would you be different? And we had multiple calls before they signed up, but they took a chance. And 6 weeks later, recently they've signed up 24 new members. 6 weeks, generated £4,000 in upfront revenue, while only spending £500 in ads. And the recurring revenue for these members around £3,000 a month for the next 12 months. That's not years of grinding. That's 6 weeks of implementing the right system. Kate and Bill, 6 months, added 30K in revenue, 50% more members. Mark from CrossFit Death of Glory, in 6 months, 80 new members. He went from 110 to 190 members and added £72,000 in revenue. His first ad campaign, £251 spent, 21 people signed up, made over 2K back immediately. Not eventually, immediately. So let me really drive this point home, is that he made his money back in his first month. Most marketing experts tell you that if you break even, look at think long term, think 3-6 months time, that's good, but we want to be making profit in month one. Frenchie, 6 months in, nearly closing down and opening a facility 5 times the size. Paul from CrossFit Wakefield, his revenue went from 15K a month to 25K. And he's added around £10,000 in monthly recurring revenue. And that's all locked into 12-month contracts. So across the year, that's like £120,000 in added revenue. Hopefully you see the pattern here. These people aren't waiting 5 years. These people aren't staying patient and keep grinding. These are people who've implemented a proven system and see results fast. So here's what all this has taught me. Fast results aren't just possible. They should be expected. If you're not seeing real results within the first 60 to 90 days of implementing a new approach, something's wrong with that approach. It's not you, it's not your market, it's not your area, it's the system that you're using, or more likely the lack of a system. So the gym owners who take years to build something, they're not more virtuous or more hardworking than the ones who don't do it, who do it in months. They're just using the wrong approach. And the longer you wait, the more it costs you, the more money, more time, energy, relationships, health, sanity. Frenchie waited 10 years before getting it right. He almost ran out of time. You don't have to do that. You don't have to wait years to see results. You don't have to keep grinding and hoping things get better eventually. There's a faster way and it works. So let me ask you some questions. How long have you been running your gym? And how much longer are you willing to wait before things actually change? If you could add 30K, 50K, £70,000 in revenue in the next 4 to 6 months instead of the next 5 to 10 years, would you want that? Of course. If you could double your membership in the next 90 days instead of grinding for another year with no real progress, would that have a massive impact to your life? Here's the truth. You can keep doing what you're doing. You can keep listening to people who tell you to be patient and stay the course. But where has that gotten you so far? Or you can accept that there's a faster way, a proven way, and a way that's already worked for over 50 gym owners like you. And the question is, how much longer do you want to wait? So I know what you're thinking. Okay, Lewis, I'm sold. Fast results are possible, hopefully. I don't want to wait years. I want to fix this now. But how? How do I do this? And that's what I want to explain now. I want to share my advice for this. So at this point, you've obviously seen what's possible. You've seen that the right offer, charging up front instead of giving away free trials, attracts better members who stick around longer. You've seen that you might be closer to maybe shutting down than you think, and waiting another 6 months could mean there is no gym to save. You've seen that fast results are possible when you have the right system, that you don't have to grind for years to see real progress, and you now have to make a choice. And I want to be really clear about what this choice is. Number one is you can try and figure this out on your own. You can take what I've shared with you today and try and implement it yourself. Run your own ads, build your own automation, create your own systems, test different offers, figure out the targeting, set up the tech. It's possible. I've done it. But here's what that path looks like. It took me over a year. I wasted over £20,000 on ads that didn't work. I hired the wrong people. I implemented the wrong systems. I had countless sleepless nights wondering whether I was doing the right thing. I almost gave up multiple times, and eventually I figured it out, but it was expensive, time consuming, and incredibly stressful. Or you could take the path, you could spend the next year trying to figure it out. So you could take that path, you could spend the next year trying to figure that out through trial and error, or you could work with someone who's already done it, someone who's been exactly where you are, someone who's made all the mistakes so you don't have to, and someone who has a system that has been successful in running gyms, and someone who can look at your gym and say, here's exactly what you need to do. Here's how to run the ads. Here's the offer that will work. Here's the automation you'll need. Here's how to onboard members so they stick around. Not a theory, but a proven framework. Now, I'm not saying this needs to be me. I'm saying this because I genuinely believe that trying to do this alone is the hardest and most expensive way to do it. Think about it this way. When you want to get better at CrossFit or Olympic lifting, do you just figure it out yourself, or do you hire a coach who knows exactly what they're doing? You'd hire a coach because you know they'll get you there faster, safer, and with better results. It's the same with building a business. I've spent £20,000 and over a year of my life figuring this out for my boxes, and you don't have to do that. Fraser and Sienna, the gym owners who were super skeptical, they took a chance with working with us. And 6 weeks later, they had 24 new members and £4,000 in upfront revenue. So what I'm trying to say is, can you do this on your own? Yes, but will it take a lot longer? Yes. You could figure out automation, paid ads, proper onboarding, but how long would that take and how much money does that cost? Mark from Defo Glory expanded his gym, bigger space, higher cost. He needed results fast. Could he have figured this out with the right ad targeting, the right offer, the right follow-up system on his own? Sure, but how many months would that have taken, and how much would we have spent testing on ads that didn't work? Instead, when I worked with him and showed him the path 4 months later, 6 months later, we'd added £72,000 of revenue. So hopefully you see the pattern here, that these gym owners didn't waste their time reinventing the wheel. They didn't spend months or years trying to figure it out themselves. They followed a proven system and they got results. And you don't have to stay stuck hoping things eventually get better. There's a shortcut, a massive shortcut, and it's called working with someone who's already done what you're trying to do. Someone who has owned gyms before, someone who understands the business from the inside out, someone who has a proven system or framework. I do this currently. I currently have mentors. I currently learn from other people. Like, you have to be learning from someone to get to that next point. Otherwise, it's going to take you so much longer to get there. So here's what I want you to do. If you're serious about transforming your gym, if you're ready to stop grinding alone and start following a proven system, here's the next step. Find someone who's done it before. Find a mentor. Find someone who you can look at.
Lou, 2 seconds, right? Just to be conscious of the time, etc. Then there's a very variety of owners on this call, right? And what I would say is, like, I think it'd be good to kind of open it up. There's a couple of things in which you have obviously excelled in regards to being able to support gyms with the system in place. And I'd be kind of interested to know a little bit more about, like, obviously you've integrated AI and you've created a system that supports gyms, etc. So just talk me through a little bit about that AI automation in regards to, that funnel. Someone gets inquiries from, let's say, lead to booking in, from booking in until just to getting someone in there, right? Because it's, again, I
Yeah.
just want to make sure that, those gyms that you've mentioned, as I said, this like kind of like ones where systems were needed in place. But I just had a look on the call. I've got there's some 10-year affiliates on here who were like pretty, student systems, and I want them to understand how that you can support those guys, and be talking on a similar kind of level to yourself. So give us an understanding of the AI system that you've got, because obviously that's very unique in terms of the backwards and forwards and how that's managed these gyms to grow their membership bases.
Yeah, great question. Yeah, apologies on the time. I didn't notice that we've gone on so much. Yeah, so the thing with AI automation and why AI automation is so successful is because of the speed. Yes, it saves you time because you're not having to do the admin work of replying to people. So there is that side of it, which is beneficial, and that's great. But really, the massive advantage from using AI automation is being able to respond to a lead within 3 seconds. Because, like I mentioned earlier, with the study, the MIT Harvard Business Study, which I'd really recommend everyone checks out, is that, like, if you're not getting back to someone within 5 minutes, you're so much less likely to get a response from that person. Okay, yes, if they've watched a lot of your content and they know, like, and trust you and they've followed your journey, you are more likely to get that response. But when you're using something like paid ads, which is oftentimes using advert to cold traffic, which means that people don't know who you are, aren't aware of your services, and you're possibly just putting an offer in front of them, that response time is massively important and massively beneficial. And so by using AI integrated into your Instagram, onto your WhatsApp, into your website, it means that when someone inquires to speak with you, your AI will know everything about your timetable, your what times you're open, what your ethos is, what your values are, where you're based, how to get there. Absolutely everything that you would need to train an admin person on, you would train the AI to be able to respond to this and get someone booked into a meeting. So the system that we implement at Gym Grow is having the AI book someone into a consult down at the gym, and also set up lots of reminders to make sure they know where it's at, and oftentimes pre-qualify them in terms of what they're trying to achieve, and so you can have a bit of info coming into that meeting, and then get as many people booked into consults down at the gym so that you have the opportunity to show them what you're about and convert them into a longer standing member. If that answers your question, Andy.
Yeah, I mean, it 100% answered the question in regards to getting back to the leads. Like, obviously, I had some good experience with this myself on an ad campaign in terms of having to turn it off, etc. With let's say a sole owner, what kind of I guess control do they have? What do they just need to provide some times which they are available and people can just book these slots in straight away, or do you advise that they get like telephone call consults in? What's your kind of approach?
Yeah, another great question. Yeah, so we've tested this a lot, and we've found substantially much better conversion when you have the person come down to your gym. So rather than a lot of gyms that we work with have existing systems in place where they will oftentimes do like telephone interviews and consults. Now, if you can get someone down to your box, that is way more beneficial for it's way more likely to get a conversion that they've actually come down. So I'm a massive advocate of getting them down to your gym, and where the AI would come into this is you don't have to give it, you give it a document, you give it a knowledge base which would tell the AI would use to pull from to read exactly who you are and what you're about. But really where people go wrong when building an AI is that they don't have the AI set for one specific outcome. So we don't want this AI to be able to give advice on how to do a snatch, for example, and also book the meeting, and also give him the prices, and also like what I'm trying to say is you only want the AI to have one specific outcome. So where we found most use for that and what we implement is having that AI to book a meeting down at the gym rather than having it do here, there, and everything. Like having it do everything for your gym, if that answers your question.
Yeah. And so at your two boxes, then, what's the kind of protocol? So the lead comes in, the lead books in a face to face, and then where does the remainder of that funnel then come in regards to getting that individual into a class, and then more importantly, I guess, booked into that long term membership you spoke about.
Yeah. So yeah, once you've got them down to the gym, our like acquisition funnel is to sign them up into a paid intro, like I was talking about earlier. So that would be like a paid program over 4 to 6 weeks, because I don't believe that you can give someone an experience and really show who you are as a box in a free trial session or a one-off session or a 3 session pack. Like if you got a more of an onboarding program, let's say over 4 weeks, you've really got the ability to put people into maybe like a smaller micro community and them to form the connections in there, which then makes the longer term sale into like a 12-month membership, let's say, a lot more easy and a lot more obvious, as opposed to just getting them into a one-off session, or let's say a 2 or 3 class pack, and then it's not structured. They're not getting around other beginners or people that haven't done much training before to then have the obvious opportunity to, okay, well, you've done so well across this 4 weeks. You've already seen some great results come in from the 4 weeks. You've understood the basics. Now here's the option to continue. And then that would be in the case of like a 12-month membership option. I'm a massive fan of, because I also think as well as a box owner, if you've not got people committing to contractual periods, it's very hard to base and predict your cash flow and predict where you can invest your money, because you don't know if that money is necessarily coming in 6 months time.
So with the gyms that you've mentioned, obviously that is going from a small membership base to a larger one. Again, without going in through the numbers, because obviously it's confidential, etc. With the systems that you did with New Wave and Paul's gym up in Wakefield, I know that they've got larger on average membership bases. So was it like the same kind of lead to system, or was it slightly different because they're more mature in terms of their membership base?
Yeah, good question. No, it didn't change whether it was like a small gym or a more existing longer term gym. Like yeah, I would say CrossFit Wakefield and New Wave CrossFit. Compared to like other gyms that we worked with that may be more new, no, the system doesn't need to change based on the experience of the gym, because the same principles apply to if we put your box and we drew a radius around your gym and where you could sign members, like where members would actually come to visit your gym, because more than, let's say, 15 miles away, they're not going to travel. Depending if you're in London, it might be 2 miles, you're not going to travel. But the total addressable market around your gym is so much larger when you tailor it towards beginners and people who aren't into training. Because if we took a radius of all those people that are around your box and say, okay, who feels confident coming into the gym and doing a CrossFit class, like that percentage of everyone, of the 100% population, is so small. And then especially with something like CrossFit, which has got quite a high barrier to entry anyway, people have this prerequisite that you've got to be good at heavy snatches and you've got to do ring muscle ups and everyone's got the top off, it raises the barrier even more. So being able to really strip that back and promote and attract people who aren't already into the gym and don't already do CrossFit, there's a massive advantage there. And actually, I probably see a lot of existing CrossFit affiliates have more of have better athletes, have people who are more confident. And I think oftentimes they fall into the trap of showing these great athletes and showing how good they are. A good example of this is Blueprint training that we're working with. They've obviously got some amazing athletes who've been to the games, etc. And one of the things that we've changed with them again is attacking or attracting people who aren't already into CrossFit, because if you go on their page, you'd be like, wow, I have to be so good at CrossFit to train here. Whereas when you really lower that barrier to entry, it makes it so much more simple for someone to want to get involved.
So based on, as I said, the proof of concept which you had at your two gyms, you found that what was a massive benefit to you was targeting your paid ads towards beginners, people who aren't necessarily training at this moment in time or have a very small kind of like training history background. And then obviously having a system, quite a very robust system in order to follow up with those kind of individuals, because their needs are going to be different to, let's say, someone who is a regular gym goer. And so you've seen success, whether it, again, the gyms which were in like need of those systems in order to let them grow and excel. And at the same time, these other gyms with more existing kind of like membership bases to put additional growth and revenue on the kind of balance sheet at this moment in time. So was there a particular kind of point where you felt with your gyms it was okay for you to step away? Because obviously, you know, you now managing it remotely, what did you need for those two facilities to have, like, you know, like a second in command or a particular kind of gym manager? Because we haven't really spoken about, I guess, you know, the staff part, etc. What was it that you had that allowed you to go, do you know what, I'm now gonna give this a go and step away for 6 months first and foremost? Because, like, just to sort of give some context to this, right?
Yeah.
There are some owners, or some of the advice which I've taken on board as an owner myself at this point in time. It's like, look, you can go away for a week. Once you go away for a week and that's okay, and you're happy with it, why not try 2 weeks? And then at the 2 week mark, you're going to be maybe going, I'm going to take a month off. And then, so like with you, like kind of what had you in place? And then what was the first dip of the toe in like? And then what did you need to see before you made that kind of a step away?
Yeah, great question. Yeah, so the first thing you have to have obviously is the revenue to support like a general manager role. Obviously without the revenue you can't do it, right? You can't hire someone. But even if you do have the revenue, it doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to work. And when I first moved away, that was when things didn't go very well. I hired the wrong person, but even necessarily that. I wasn't good at managing, and I didn't understand how to support that person and give them a clear framework to work with. And essentially, being a CEO or someone who is outside of the day-to-day operations, like you work for that person. You're there to help support them. They shouldn't feel like they work for you. You almost work for them. Like, it's like, how do you give them the ownership of where they want to get to? Of course, if it's a general manager role, it's like it's the profit of your gym, right? It's the revenue and the profit that facility is making. And so that's the ultimate KPI that matters most, because if that goes down and we're not profitable, well, then we're in a place where, okay, how do we continue on? And so it's with giving them something like the profit and okay, run with this and build this up. It's now, how can I support you in helping you do that? and I'll give you a framework and I'll give you the systems and we'll talk through and train you on how to do all this. But ultimately, it comes from you supporting that person. Yes, you've got to find the right person, and we could do a whole webinar on finding the right people. And that's probably one of the biggest skills and where you could spend most time as an owner is talent acquisition and finding the right people. But once you've decided on who that is, it's just supporting them to the best of your ability so that they can run the gym to the standard that you want, and you are able to step away. And I don't think it is a quick process. I think with something like where you're stepping away from the gym, I think you do definitely have to have the right systems in place for them to follow and give them the right support. If that answers your
Brilliant.
question. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, sure. All right. So again, um, what I want to do now is that because obviously you've got a lot of experience within this field, it would be great just to take one or two questions if there are any, so that you can, kind of like leverage that experience. I mean, I think it's very um, good, ample opportunity for people to understand what you can help them with, but also at the same time, owner to owner, it'd be great, to see if there's any questions in the group that your experience can just kind of answer. Is there any questions that people want to put into either chat box or raise a hand?
I can't see the chat box, but if someone reads the question out, that will also work. But yeah, who's got some questions, please? I'd love to answer some questions.
I, unless someone's put their hand up. No, no, nothing's come through in the actual chat itself. So
Yeah, if I know obviously we're in a big group and it can be a bit like you don't want to say anything in front of everyone. I actually put in at the bottom of this that I would do like a free audit for 5 affiliates. I was going to cap it at 5, so I was going to take the first 5 because it's a lot of time and effort on my side, because I'd go into like I'd basically pretend to be a member and go into your funnel and see how that works, and also just do a deep dive into your business. Happy to do that for 5 affiliates if people want to ask any questions as well offline, because I know we're in a big group. I've got my Instagram handle at the bottom. Feel free to drop me a message. Absolutely here to help. Really love seeing specifically CrossFit affiliate owners crush it. And maybe you've already got a very long-standing affiliate. We are working with a lot of long-standing affiliates and getting great results. It's really not specific to the age of the affiliate. It's more specific to the systems that you're running. So happy
yeah,
to,
well, there's two questions. Yeah, there's two questions, and they're
Oh,
both
sweet. Cool.
in and around the AI, right? So one question is from Patrick Welsh, right? What AI would you recommend? And then the other one from Yannick is how do you practically implement the AI?
Cool. Yeah. Okay. So, what was the first question, Andy?
What kind of like AI do you recommend? Because I think you mentioned it. It's like you want an AI which is specific for, I guess, booking people in and then just managing that process rather than just trying to describe everything, right? I guess there's some kind of automated AI in there. And then I guess the tie in with that is like, what is the practical kind of implementation of that?
Yeah, so I can tell you're a serious tech guy, Andy, from the question you asked. The AI that I'm joking because I know Andy's a hardcore like old school like guy who's not the most technologically enabled, um, shaking his head. So the first question, in all seriousness, so the type of AI that you would use, we build it on N8N. So it's a platform called N8N, the letter N, number 8, letter N. It's not that simple. If you don't have existing like an existing tech background, YouTube's going to be your best friend here, just on how to set it up. We have an in-house web developer who helps with this because some of it is using code. You can use like plug and play AI systems. Like we've used one in Go High Level before, which is like a CRM system, but we found with that it was quite basic because the thing is with an AI, you want to have a knowledge base. You want to have something from it to for it to pull information from. So yes, we want to have a brain which can be powered by Claude, ChatGPT, Gemini, whatever. But the knowledge base is where it's going to pull all the information from. So having like an in-depth document about your values, your gym, your timetable, all that sort of stuff. That's when the AI can pull from that. And so the best application for that is we found N8N, but you can for sure use stuff like Go High Levels, like native AI. It just won't be as good. So I don't believe there's like you've got ManyChat in terms of like for Instagram. That's a great software that I'd recommend that everyone has. It's not expensive. I think it's like £7 a month. On this, like if someone follows your page on Instagram, the automation will be sent out. So to answer your question, if you're going to fully build an AI, is maybe not that simple, and you probably want to look at getting help to do that. If you want to just use automation, which doesn't necessarily use AI, but is going to trigger a workflow, and something like ManyChat and Instagram would be really useful for this. What was the second question, Andy?
I think you've basically kind of said what's needed there. Like, in terms of the AI integration, seems that there's a lot of tech behind there, and obviously your experience has gone from doing like the plug in and play one to having something which is a little bit more bespoke now, right? So again, you can see that it's taken quite a long term of process in there. Question we've got in terms of the ads. It's like this is from Leo. What's an example for the ads for beginners? What have you found is one of the better ones, or is the best?
Yeah, yeah. Still creatives for conversion campaigns. So when we say ads, you've got different types of ads on Meta. And when I say ads, I'm talking about Meta ads, so Instagram and Facebook. Not found much use case for like Google ads and stuff like that with gyms. But still creatives for us for a local demographic have worked much better than like reels or video ads. But that being said, if you're looking to generate more awareness and engagement and traffic to your page, we found that reels have been a lot more beneficial. And so it depends on what the goal of the ad is. But if it's direct signups, I would use a still image ad with your offer on the ad. Whereas if you're looking for more engagement, traffic, awareness to who you are and what your business is, I'd recommend you using reels, and I'd direct it to followers. So you would set the campaign objective to be followers so that you can just create more awareness to who you guys are and get more people aware that you exist.
And with that example for like the beginners, do you normally use like the same copy, or does that copy change per gym, etc. In terms of, I guess the hook, or will you use one first and then you've got like another one which is applicable? Because I know that you do like to advertise to men and women separately. Is that right?
Yeah, yeah, good question as well. Yeah, yeah. So the thing with marketing, right, is like you want to appeal to that person that you're marketing to. So someone sees that advert or sees that and goes, "Ah, that's for me." Like when you can get someone to do that and go, "Oh, this would be great for me," then they're much more inclined to click the ad and move to the next step and book the meeting, etc. So separating it into men's and women's ads, one for targeting is great, yes, but two, in terms of like the actual ad creative itself, it will call out to that person more so than just doing it generically. You by all means can do a generic ad to both men and women, and it still will work great. You'll just find that your lead cost is slightly higher. And then in terms of ad copy, ad ad copy is again lower down the priority list. You're going to have the headline and the creative as the top thing. If you get that correct, the actual copy doesn't really matter too much. But yes, for the copy, we have a pretty systemized approach to the ad copy. But really, it just needs to be about what you're offering and why you're offering it in the ad copy.
Wicked. And then just a top line kind of ad question from Shane is like, what's the major difference between the genders in terms of, um, I mean, I guess it like, yeah, just from your experience, is there something which you're like, hey, this works better for a female audience, and yeah, this works better for the male audience?
Um, Yeah, so in general, across all the gyms that we work with, female ads seem to do better. The cost per lead for female seems to be lower. Don't ask me why. I'm just going off the data. I don't completely understand why, but it is. Um, and in terms of what works better. Occasionally, we will not use the term beginner for men because sometimes men don't maybe like to be called beginners, but beginners ads work really, really well in both cases. But sometimes we have used not the word beginner in men's ads and it has performed better, but beginners in women's ads has definitely always performed really well. So maybe have a play around with that. Maybe try using beginners in the men's and then not using beginners and just having it as framing it in a different way because maybe some guys don't like the term beginner. But yeah, in general, it's pretty similar. It's pretty similar. It's more to do with just like you're going to have a woman on the women's ad and a man on the men's ad. So it's just again who you're calling out to that person be like, oh, that could be me. I want to do that. It's more to do with the creative, to be honest.
Awesome. All right, wicked. So those are the details which we've got for you. They're still on the screen now, QR code, right? And then your Instagram handle. Is that the best way for people to contact you, or is there like an email or anything as well?
Yeah. I can also throw my email on here as well if they want to email me as well. So that one is Instagram. But my email as well. Oh, it's gone really small. Is just lewis@gymgrow.ai. Let me put it under here. Um, no, it's not working.
That's all right. What I'll do is that when you can
Pop
you
it in the
send us those
chat.
docs? That yeah, pop it in the chat, and then we can send it out afterwards. Then. Oh, there we are. Perfect. All right,
Yeah,
wicked.
got my email there. Yeah. But yeah, happy to answer any questions. And if anyone's got anything like I'm happy to help as much as possible. And that doesn't mean that you have to work with me. I'm happy to give away free value to help benefit CrossFit affiliates. I'm not by all means saying you need to work with me. I will do my best in this business audit as well to try and make you more aware of what you could do better. So yeah, hopefully you'll find it very valuable.
Perfect. Well, thank you very much for your time today. Okay. We really appreciate it. And then in regards to everyone else moving forward, details will be sent out. Use it on the screen, and yeah, we look forward to everyone having a great new year.
Yep. Cheers, guys. Been great.
All right. Bye bye.
Thanks,
Cheers,
Gareth. Thanks,
Lewis.
Andy.
Speak soon, mate.
Cheers. Bye.